people are discouraged from going near the dam just because it is a dangerous area.
4 were rescued and brought to an area hospital. Todd Ent, ABC News.
Federal prosecutors now demanding what they call, quote, real and serious punishment for lawyer Michael Avenatti. He was convicted of trying to
All right, I'm back, Biffing.
Prep and file taxes, and consult for the long-term financial health of your business. Always Exact. Glessner and Associates.
Over the years, you've brought opioids into your home. They helped when you were in pain, and you held on to them just in case. But holding on to opioids puts your family at risk. Learn more at www.fda.gov/drug disposal.
Hello, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm the Storm Tracker, Darnell Foster, with a look at your local weather forecast for your Friday. Mostly cloudy skies with a few scattered showers and thunderstorms. A daytime high of 81. Overnight low of 69 degrees with showers and storms likely. You'll see showers and scattered storms in the forecast for your Saturday, otherwise mostly cloudy with temperatures in the mid to upper 80s. Have yourself a great day, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm Darnell Foster.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of this station or its sponsors.
The Valley is nearing a return to normal, and we're celebrating with the 100 days of summer. This is the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe.
Well, temperature keeps moving up little by little. 65 degrees at the Wheeling, Ohio County Airport. 65 at the airport, and I'm looking at 63 degrees here at my home studios in the Elm Grove section of Wheeling. It's 62 at the Robinson Auto Group Studios downtown Wheeling in the heart of the Ohio Valley. Still a nice clear morning and sunshine coming down, looking pretty nice. Be aware clouds will roll in later in the day, and some storms are coming up tonight, and then we turn into a little bit of a rainy weekend for the weekend. Coming up today, happy Father's Day to all the father figures. We'll have more Dad's Day comedy. We'll look at some interesting dad stories for you. How much money are people spending on dads for Dad's Day and so on. Facts, figures, and fun for Father's Day. The Friendly City celebrating Juneteenth. It's now officially a federal holiday, and after a little bit of confusion in his own mind, Governor Justice officially said that it is a state holiday in the Great Mountain State as well. Juneteenth, what is it? We'll talk about it a bit more. Local newspaper editor John McCabe and I will have the Friday Roundtable coming up, our local news and review. We'll talk about that new fireworks proposal, tightened up fireworks ordinance in the city of Wheeling, the homeless liaison idea being kicked around, library cutbacks at the Ohio County Library after the reduction in funding from the Ohio County School Board. Top of the morning, the Supreme Court upholds the Obamacare law again. Justices' coal companies have let their benefits coverage for retirees lapse again. And Mitch McConnell has said he's not going to go along with even the new revised Joe Manchin proposal for election reform again. All of that coming up this morning here on the Watchdog Morning Show. But right now at 8:11 in the morning on the Watchdog Morning Show, I want to talk about one of the great gems of the Upper Ohio Valley, and that is Wheeling Park. And I can't imagine that there aren't many of us who have not had some experience with Wheeling Park one way or another, where you just drive through, enjoy the pool, maybe go to the playground. We were at the playground yesterday with my grandson Teddy, for example. You all know we do that a lot. Picnic in the park, what have you. But the history of Wheeling Park is really interesting. It is celebrating its 95th anniversary this year, and I thought we'd take a little time to talk about Wheeling Park as a city entity, how it got its start, and some things that I bet you didn't know used to be part of what's now Wheeling Park. So I asked Eric Jonelson from the Ogilvy Foundation to join us this morning. He's here. Eric, good morning. Good to talk to you.
Good morning, Howard. How are you?
I am great. It's always good to have you here with us. The history of Wheeling Park is something I don't think a lot of folks really recognize or understand. How it got started, what the park used to be, how it transformed into what it is, and I thought it might be kind of fun to talk about it. Going way back, Eric, it was simply a private estate or some private property, right?
Yeah, originally it was created by Thomas Hornbrook. So he was one of Wheeling's wealthiest and most established citizens back in the early 1800s. So an Englishman, he came to Wheeling and was in the grocery business, I believe, started delivering groceries with a basket and grew into a great kind of industrialist, had a great commerce kind of business, and So he bought that, and descriptions of the grounds were that he really loved flowers and trees, invested in those, about 35 acres. The grounds were open on the weekends for the public to enjoy. And his people kind of made fun of his house. It was a rather small house, considering the 35-acre estate and the condition with which he maintained that estate. So that's kind of what set the tone for that parcel of land that we enjoy today. So that kind of, I guess the heart, you would call it, of Wheeling Park was part of Thomas Hornbrook's estate.
But then he sold it, what, to a
He
beer
died.
company or something like that?
So he dies, and his heirs then sell it to a group of 4 individuals. They were going to develop a cemetery. And those of you that know Wheeling in that area, there are 2 cemeteries right there, right? So you have Mount Calvary and then Greenwood in that area. So lots of other people were thinking about cemeteries in that area. So that was kind of the original, and those plans fell through. And ultimately then a group backed by the Raymond Brewing Company bought the interest in the property and expanded it and created a German beer garden. So in the kind of the spirit of the colorful German beer gardens that they would know, they turned Wheeling Park into that. So amusement rides and grounds. They also, by chance, owned the Elm Grove trolley cars. So this became the terminus, and it was a reason why people would ride their public transportation system then to end up in that beer garden. And this honestly wasn't the only, I guess, such endeavor in Wheeling at that time. Mozart Park was the same way. So that was owned by the Schmulbach Brewing Company, and you would ride the incline up to enjoy Mozart Park. So I think that was kind of a trend of the day. Some of these German
Once
brewers.
again, I think a lot of people don't realize that when I sometimes am driving out Creek Road and I look up at Mozart and I think, yeah, there used to be an amusement park there. And you're right. There's they had an incline that would take you up there. That's what the old days were like, I guess.
Well, and I think we talk a lot in Wheeling about, obviously our industrial past, our role in commerce as it relates to transportation and all these different industries coming together here in Wheeling and then going out from there. But innovation, I mean, Wheeling was a very inventive place back in the late 1800s and early 1900s, and so amazing kind of all of those things. So back to Wheeling Park, and so they developed. So there's a roller coaster there, which again just kind of blows my mind. They called it shooting the chute. So you kind of a flume ride that you go down a log into what today is Good Pond there, Good Lake in the middle of Wheeling Park. They had white picket fence around. There was a small train, I think probably similar to what's in the Oglebay Good Zoo right now, that would circle the area so that you could enjoy that. They had ice cream. There was a beer garden, obviously, and the pool back then is close to where the present day ice rink is. And so there's a stage, and then they would serve beer, and that there was kind of continuous entertainment. The main driver of all of that was a casino, which is where the White Palace is today.
Yeah, we tend to think of the Wheeling Casino, of course, on Wheeling Island, and back in the days of Bill Lyas, and then it grew into a casino now. But actually, there was a casino at Wheeling Park.
And it's amazing how even former park commissioners remember growing up and enjoying all of those activities, from people snipping flowers that were cared for and taking those back home, to Sarah Bernhardt. During, the actress and entertainer actually performed there in Wheeling Park during her last American tour.
I didn't realize that. I always loved, never saw her, but I was always a fan of Sarah Bernhardt. I didn't realize that.
So lots of interesting history. But unfortunately, World War I, the shadow of Prohibition, all of those things put the concept of these German beer gardens really were no longer popular, and the revenues they could drive were not enough to keep up with the capital infrastructure, which is a challenge in many of these types of places, right? So there were taxes involved and all that, and they just it didn't make sense any longer. So about by the late 19-teens, the park really started to look pretty shabby and was in disarray. And again, if you know the landscape of Wheeling, there's some very prominent homes around that. That's a beautiful part of Wheeling as you go out the National Road. And so city leaders were not excited that, everyone driving into Wheeling from the east going on National Road would pass this kind of shabby-looking, rundown amusement ground as they entered town. So they tried to think about what we could do with it. And I think ultimately the Wheeling Public Service District ended up with it, and probably back taxes and all of those kinds of things. So there was so that was all in play. So fast forward a little bit to 1923, and a group led by Otto Schenk tried to raise some money, and he speaks very eloquently about the need for parks. So let's talk about that a little bit. So at that time period, American cities didn't have great parkland. That was, Frederick Law Olmsted had just created Central Park probably a decade or so before that. And so it was a mark of a successful city that you would have a grand or a beautiful park for the citizens and the residents.
Let me stop you for a second. Was Ogilvy Park a city park at this point, or
No.
had it not yet become a municipal park?
If this doesn't happen, Ogilvy Park never happens. So we can talk about that. And again, the history of Ogilvy, kind of people know it looks a little bit different. There's a beautiful house, all of those things, right? I think the history of Wheeling Park's probably more fascinating to me.
I agree, yeah.
So let me keep going, and make sure I circle back to that. If this doesn't happen, Ogilvy never happens. So Otto Schenk and W.E. Stone and lots of Stone and Thomas, so lots of Wheeling leaders were involved in this effort in 1923, and it fails. So they're not able to they need to raise $300,000, which I think in today's money is like $4.6 million to buy the property. So some people had made gifts, and they keep kind of fundraising, but it kind of dies on the vine, I guess. Again, fast forward a little bit, and two Wheeling citizens, business leaders, L.F. Haller and Charles Sonneborn, buy an option, and they're going to turn that into housing development. And they're envisioning a beautiful housing development. And if you think again about our neighbors over in Arbordale, I mean, it's a beautiful how that property lays out there in the valley. I mean, it would have been stunning. But they say, before we turn it into homes, we will cheerfully give up our opportunity for personal financial gain if the citizens of Wheeling believe in this idea of a public park. So this is December 14th, 1924, and they said if you can raise those dollars, again, we're talking about $4.6 million in today's dollars, in the next 2 weeks, you can turn it into a park. Now, again, this idea
they had to think it was a challenge that couldn't be met, right?
I think so, but I also think that everyone was, again, the business community was behind this. And I think it was, okay, we either need to do this or move on at that point, right? We've been talking about it kind of in the background, in the shadows. There's a newspaper article about it. H.C. Ogden had been very supportive of this idea of public parks. So, hey, either we need to move or let's move on. But this piece of rundown property isn't great. Otto Schenk again talks about, when you start building a park, you usually start with just soil. And here you have a beautiful mature trees, you have some of the amusement grounds already that you could convert for more public park purposes, all of those things. And I think it was just a unique opportunity. So anyway, yes, I think that they're saying, yeah, we're going to do this, but we'll give you one last shot at it, one last bite of the apple. So Wheeling rallies. In less than 6 days, 170 people make gifts, and they raise the $350,000, $4.6 million, to buy and equip Wheeling Park. Wow. And so Christmas Eve, the banner headline in the local paper is, Wheeling Park is Wheeling's Christmas gift to the city. So really exciting, and how all that comes together. From the largest gift was from W.E. Stone, and he had some conditions on his gift, there was I think Center Wheeling Elementary School. They raised $10 from their class, and they made a gift. So we still have kind of a roster of everyone who made those original gifts to create Wheeling Park. One donor who made a gift was a Cleveland industrialist named Earl Ogilvy, who was so inspired by this idea, he made a gift of $5,000 to support the effort. W.E. Stone's conditions on the gift were it needed to be independent. First, the city had to accept it as a public park. Secondly, that they needed to charge some kind of revenue, some kind of fees to maintain the park going forward, and that an independent commission, the Wheeling Park Commission, needed to be created to maintain the park, and the Chamber of Commerce had to have a larger interest in it than the city government, and that still makes up our Wheeling Park Commission today. So 3 of those commissioners are appointed by the Chamber of Commerce. 2 of those are appointed by the city manager, Bob Herron. So
a lot of folks sometimes wonder how the Wheeling Park Commission came to be, or how did they end up becoming the overseers of our parks. And I guess the short answer is that's the way those folks who owned it and gifted it, well, didn't gift it to us, but sold it to the city, insisted it be.
yeah, and I think there was this idea that it needed to run as a separate business, and we couldn't, once the gifts were made, it needed to either or grow or fail on its own, and it shouldn't become a tax burden for the residents of Wheeling, right? And that isn't to say that the city shouldn't support it, but this can't be some big, at that point it was 135 acres, I believe. So, that there's a potential that it was going to fail, right? And who was going to maintain it? And then again, you're pulling all this money that should be paying for police and fire to the parks and all of those kinds of things. So I think there was a part of that. And I think they wanted it to have, leaders in place for multiple generations, or at least lots of years, that could really help develop this idea of the parks. And they went to business. I mean, they really went to work and spent a lot of time over the next 6 months developing this concept.
I'm not going to go down the road of why can't we have this kind of business involvement today, but it does seem to me in the city's heyday, the things that we still have and take note of today were because businesses were really actively involved and community-minded. I think a whole lot more than maybe many of them are today. I don't know that I want to get down that road today, but I just can't help but make that comment. The Park Commission, it is, as it was created back in 1925, it still is essentially the same, not the same people, obviously, but I mean, the setup is the same as it was back then?
Yeah, there was a change to the city charter, I believe, and actually, so under the last charter review, which would have happened when 80s, maybe early 90s.
92. That was approved in 92.
So it's actually added to the preamble of the city charter, this kind of idea of supporting the Wheeling Park Commission as an independent entity. But yes, those things have, some changes to law and so forth have happened. But the idea of this governing board that was supported by the business community as a majority stake is still in play. And we can trace back each seat on that Wheeling Park Commission board. In some cases, I mean, I think you can look at the founding board member, and then, we're kind of the 4th person sitting in those chairs. So the average tenure of service has been 20 plus years on the Wheeling Park Commission. Yeah. And I think certainly that, and then the leader, helping support long-term leaderships like, Randy Whirls and Doug Dalby and so forth. All of that combined has allowed the parks to grow. So it actually has to be created by the legislature, though. So the Park Commission is created by an act of the West Virginia legislature in, I think it's January, February 1925, and then Wheeling Park opens that Memorial Day. And again, it's funny to read the minutes. They're not sure if this is going to work. And you can hear it, I mean, in the way the minutes are written. You can just imagine their expressions. They've put all this work into it, and they don't know what's going to happen, so they kind of, and I think one of the things that we should mention, and Ogden Nutting always talks to me about it, is that there were fences and gates around this. And one of the first things they did was they tore down some of those gates and really opened up the park so that the residents knew in a very...
It's the people's park.
Exactly right, and you're welcome here. And Ogden, through the years, in my work with him, was very hesitant anytime we put up fences or gates anywhere in the parks, just because of what that could potentially demonstrate. Even if we're just trying to keep deer out, we just need to be concerned about that perception. And both Oglebay and Wheeling Park are the people's park.
That's interesting, and it makes sense, too. This is the people's park. It's going to literally, physically be open and available. We're talking to Eric Jonasson from the Oglebay Foundation this morning about the history of Wheeling Park on this 95th anniversary. Eric, in the early days of the park, shortly after it became under the control of the Park Commission, Some of the more familiar parts of the park today actually began being built back then. The White Palace, the golf course, I guess, opened up early on.
Yes.
The Madonna of the Trail that sits outside the park was put there fairly on. So a lot of these things that we now see as sort of landmarks of the park, they've been improved and changed over the years, but they started very early on under the new ownership, right?
Yeah, the first thing they did was they wanted a playground. So that was this idea of a children's playground was specifically mentioned by W.E. Stone in his conditions of his lead gift to create the Wheeling Park Commission. And so one of the first things they did was a playground. There's a bandstand there for concerts and so forth. And then they got to work on what today is known as the Block Golf Course, so the 9-hole golf course that's there. And I think it's the same mule team, we went back through the records, that actually designed the greens at some of the very famous golf courses across the country. I mean, golf courses were, I think that was right after Bobby Jones, right? So golf, this idea of public golf courses was a new concept. When they opened the doors on Memorial Day weekend, 10,000 people show up. So all this apprehension, I think, went away. The number one most popular thing to do was dancing, though. So I think it was a nickel or 2 cents or something like that for a dance. So you'd pay this fee and you could go dance, and that's where all the kids and the young adults were hanging out and dancing. And that was within the casino. In the last dance of the year, that building burns to the ground. So it's their revenue producer. It's the only thing that's driving revenue throughout to support all the expenses across this park. It burns to the ground. And what do you
Because the other stuff is all sort of free and available to anybody, right?
Exactly
You can come
right.
and play on the playground, no fees and that kind of stuff. Okay.
So that was their business model, and it burns. And there was some small amount of insurance, but not enough to totally rebuild. And so what do you think you do? I mean, so this started in 1923. It's now the end of 1925. These business leaders who probably have a million other things going on, family and their own interests and so forth, and they said, okay, we'll raise the money. And so Otto Schenck really goes out and gets another, and I think it's 300 plus people this time make gifts. And by the next season, they have a new building, and that's the White Palace that we know today. So it was an open air pavilion at that point, but they rebuilt that in record time and opened that back up for the citizens of Wheeling. So again, all of these times, the citizens keep stepping up and making gifts and making Wheeling Park happen. And the actual formal name for the White Palace is the Otto Schenck Memorial Plaza to honor all of his work to really create Wheeling Park. So
the White Palace is there. Playgrounds are there. The
pool,
the grounds are there for picnic. When you say bandstand, you're talking about the one on top of the hill, right? That's where the original bandstand went. Yeah,
exactly right. So, and they would have bands and all of those things. So, yeah, not the amphitheater that you know today. And at some point, they added, animal exhibits. I think people have mentioned the aviary, and I think there were monkeys and all kinds of things throughout those grounds. When I talk to some of the older donors and leaders in the community, they talk about their love for the parks really comes from Wheeling Park and spending their entire childhood basically in that park, whether they walked over to the park or their parents would drop them off in the morning and they'd spend their entire day there.
I remember the aviary, which was behind the old swimming pool, if I remember correctly.
Right.
And God, did it smell.
Right. So there's, we certainly have improved some of our habitats for animals, and the Good Zoo does a great job up there. And so I think, through the decades, the Park Commission decided, well, let's really focus our energy on, if we're going to have, animals in captivity and managed, we will do that in one area and do that at a high level.
You also had, once upon a time, when I was a kid, they had a cage of birds, peacocks, there right on the banks of the lake as you were leaving the park, right in that area. I used to love going down as a kid and watching the peacocks, splay their feathers.
Right, and people talk about, the birds and the peacocks in particular, and, what can we do to bring back that? It's almost a Victorian age kind of piece. We have swan boats now at Ogleby, but I saw some actual almost old wooden swan boats that they had on Good Lake there as well. So, lots of changes to that area. Through the years, we moved up the hill and added acreage, and soccer fields and sports fields, and then the land that was given to the Ohio County Schools for their complex and so forth. So lots of changes to use in that, and I think our challenge within the parks is to make sure that these facilities continue to be relevant for the citizens of Wheeling. So maybe teen dances aren't what's hip right now, or cool or rad or whatever we would say. But what's the best use of those facilities so that people can come into the park? And that was really the idea of Flashback Fridays, is what are the things that we can do to really harken back to our history, but make sure everyone in Wheeling and the Ohio Valley is in Wheeling Park as much as they want to be, and they're there all the time, and we're that center of community in Wheeling Park.
What I like that the park has added recently is little signs about the history of the park, and there's a sign there near the White Palace that explains the casino, and so you can kind of, if you do a little walking around the park, you can learn about the history of the park, which again, I tend to agree with you. It's almost more fascinating than Ogilvy Park even is.
Well, because it really...
And you've got some signs up that people can learn about it now.
Yeah, I mean, I think the story about Ogilvy is incredible because Mr. Ogilvy was, I mean, his gift was just incredible, maybe one of the greatest gifts in the history of our state. But Wheeling Park was about the people. I mean, it was the citizens kind of coming together and figuring this out. And again, this has not been done in other places, both the creation of a park through gifts, and then in 1945, they create the Park System Trust Fund, which is kind of the first trust to support a public park in the country, and kind of this kind of leader in how other parks now are trying to figure out how they're going to fund their operations. So lots of just incredible ideas come out of that time period and these ideas.
Now, you mentioned earlier, and we're not going to have time to run through all of the changes. Oh, I have one Wheeling Park change first. So I remember the earlier swimming pool, not where the current pool is now, but there was a pool earlier than that. When did the swimming pool get added to the park? Do you know?
Well, there was a swimming pool back in the earliest days. So it was much smaller, and again, there was a stage, and they did almost, it was almost like the pool was there, but it was really about eating and drinking and watching entertainment. So I don't know exactly how that was used, but it looked very different than any swimming pool that we would see today. And then so there's always been a swimming pool at Wheeling Park, dating back to the days of it as a beer garden. The most recent swimming pool, that's a great question. I don't know that answer.
When I was a kid, the pool was over around where the tennis courts are now, in that general area.
Yep.
I remember going to the pool there. And then what's now the new pool, which is not new
Right.
anymore, but the new pool was built, and then the water slide was added, and constantly. And it's been interesting to watch Wheeling Park try, as you say, to adapt to the times and, to change a little bit as time goes on. And quite frankly, there was not a lot of movement for a while. The park almost like got static, but you didn't see a lot of changes or a lot of, you know what I'm saying? It was just sort of there. It had been Wheeling Park for a long time. It does seem as if we're seeing a lot more effort and emphasis being put on on Wheeling Park now, with some new things, and some new things are being tried, and they've done the dive-in movies and drive-in movies, and of course Flashback Friday is just a big deal right now. So I see a lot more excitement around Wheeling Park, maybe the way it used to be, as more of a people's park.
Well, and I think, remember the public high school is located there. I mean, the park was being used and loved by a lot of people, but, like the hockey community, right? So there's the hockey, Wheeling Amateur Hockey Association, Waha, they do an incredible job, and they're there all the time, and we've got 20,000 kids that go to public skating sessions, and I think there are probably as many people that walk in Wheeling Park every day as up at Ogilvy with their dogs, and really enjoying that space. But yes, I think through bringing in some of the new leadership at the Wheeling Park Commission, most recently with Bob Peckinpah, the CEO, they've really looked at Wheeling Park as an incredible opportunity. Its location, its proximity to Interstate 70, it's in the heart of the community. People can walk to it, they can ride their bikes to it. What can we do to really liven that space up? And just the way it lays out, right? So with Flashback Fridays, You've got a amphitheater right in the middle. You can walk to the pool. You can walk to mini golf. You can walk to the lake. You can walk inside of the building. There's so much you can do. You park one time. You bring the entire family. You can enjoy all of it. So you can really activate that space in a really exciting way without, at Ogilvy, you've got to figure out, think about Ogilvy Fest, right? You've got to get transportation to move people around from place to place and so forth. But Wheeling Park, it's all there. So again, lots of really exciting ideas, lots of things we want to do in the next 3 to 5 years down there. Again, it's a gem. I think any community in the country would be thrilled to have a Wheeling Park, let alone an Ogilvy Park, right?
Now, even though I can't see him, I can feel Brother Biff giving me a glare, telling me I'm way, way behind time. So I need to wrap this up. But I have to ask you before I do, Eric, you mentioned earlier that Ogilvy Park would not have happened if Wheeling Park hadn't happened, right?
So it was the inspiration. 170 people in Wheeling make gifts. So, Earl Ogilvy, who was probably one of the wealthiest citizens in West Virginia at that time, he saw that effort. He saw the energy. He saw what the citizens of Wheeling were doing, and that's what inspired him to leave his 750-acre estate, Waddington Farm, to the citizens of Wheeling and to be placed under the management of the Wheeling Park Commission. So that incredible gift, probably valued in the 20s to 30s to 40s of millions of dollars, right, was only because he saw the effort of kind of everyday people in Wheeling to make this new idea happen. And that is kind of what we see. That has not changed in 100 years. So that's the same thing today. It's the effort of the citizens of Wheeling to love their parks, Ogilvy and Wheeling Park, that inspires our leadership donors that come in from other places or maybe grew up here and have left, or a foundation from somewhere else to invest in the impacts that the parks make on the community because they see how much the community loves their parks. And so I think what you hopefully have seen from the team, the leadership team at the parks, both myself, Bob Peckinpah, a big group of people, is trying to show that love back to the community. What are the things we can do? So this weekend, Father's Day weekend, West Virginia Day, there's so much going on this weekend. Juneteenth now, a celebration. We're going to shoot fireworks on Saturday at Ogilvy Park. So what are the things we can do to just add little moments of joy for all the families and citizens of Wheeling and the Ohio Valley, people to come out and enjoy the parks, be outside, be active, be together with their community. We've been quarantined and isolated for so long. Let's break all of that and let's just get together and have fun. So there's music all the time in both parks. There's activities. We're doing wristbands at reductions, different reduced fee activities. So all those things are targeted so that people of Wheeling and the Ohio Valley are in the parks and they're loving that experience that we offer.
Even during the pandemic, my wife and grandson and I would almost every day take a ride, and we almost every day would go through, actually probably both of them, Wheeling Park and Ogilvy Park, but certainly almost every day, at least one of them. And of course, during the pandemic, things were fairly quiet. It's really been neat the last month or so, and in the last couple of weeks in particular, to see all the activity. Tuesday, we were up at the park every Tuesday. Teddy plays with one of his little friends. They meet at Ogilvy's playground. And I was watching how many people were out on the lake and how many people were just walking through the park and how many people were up at the hilltop. And I mean, it's just, you can see and feel people coming out and just enjoying the park. And, you've heard me say this before, Eric, and I have to run, but I sometimes wonder if we all appreciate what a great gift that was a long time ago, and it is still a gift that keeps on giving to us. There aren't many communities that have those two parks that offer the kinds of to a large extent, free facilities that Wheeling Park and Ogilvy do. Yeah, we're very blessed, and I just don't know that we sometimes appreciate it.
We're all stewards of their generosity, and the fun part is, so last thing I'll leave you with. So H.C. Ogden, his editorials, when Ogilvy made his gift, Mr. Ogilvy made his gift, he called it a magnificent gift for the people, and then he called it our great opportunity the next day. That was the headline, our great opportunity. So the parks are what we as citizens of Wheeling and the Ohio Valley make of them. And so whether you're there and you're adding your energy and time and enjoying the parks and buying a hot dog or a Diet Pepsi or whatever, or you're making gifts to the foundation, all of us are stewards of that gift, and we're the ones that are driving that forward. So Again, thank you for the time. I really appreciate this extended interview this morning, Howard.
Yeah, it went longer than I thought. Sorry, Biffy, but I just good stuff. I love it. And the story of Wheeling Park is a fascinating story, and I wanted to spend some time talking about it. Eric, thanks for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Howard. Thank you so much.
All right, Biff, I'm sorry. I'm way behind time. Let's get some news and sports in here, maybe a little Father's Day tidbit before we wrap things up in this hour and head over to our Friday roundtable after 9 o'clock. It's 17 till the hour. Oh, it's 17 till the hour. 65 degrees at the Wheeling, Ohio County Airport.
The WTRF Channel 7 News Update is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
Now it's time for your local Ohio Valley.
Metro News Sports, good morning. I'm Kyle Wiggs. The final baseball regional final went.
Biff, there's no critical sports, right? Can we skip the sports, do you think? Yeah, I don't think there's anything that's important that people need to know. Let's just go ahead and skip the sports. We'll catch up with Bill next hour.
During the Jim Robinson Ford Lincoln Toyota Pre-Owned Super Sale, select from over 80 vehicles in stock starting under $5,000. Most are local trades, many with one owner. Hurry to Jim Robinson at the Highlands, home of lifetime powertrain protection. Now, during the Jim Robinson Ford Lincoln Toyota Pre-Owned Super Sale, select from over 80 vehicles in stock starting under $5,000. Most are local trades, many with one owner. Hurry to Jim Robinson at the Highlands, home of lifetime powertrain protection.
Plumbers and Steam Fitters Local 83 want to thank the owners and contractors of the Ohio Valley for using their locally trained workers to help build for the future. Local 83 helps design, fabricate, and build the gas infrastructure for the oil and gas industry here in the Ohio Valley. Plumbers and Steam Fitters Local 83 is 300 members strong and growing. They also do residential, commercial, and industrial work on both sides of the river. For more information, call Plumbers and Steam Fitters Local 83 at 304-233-4445.
A serious injury from an accident can be just the start of your worries. What if you cannot return to work? How do you take care of your family if you're disabled? At Gelner Law Offices, we represent seriously injured people and understand their problem. We know how to get you fair compensation. We will work hard to make sure you get the money you deserve for your losses. Don't go it alone. If you're hurt in an accident, call us at 304-242-2900 or visit us at gelnerlaw.com.
We'd like to help.
Wheeling Coin and Hobby on 10th Street in Wheeling, next to the Bridge Tavern in downtown Wheeling, wants to buy any and all unwanted gold and silver jewelry. They are paying top dollar for 10, 14, 18, and 22 karat gold plus 925 sterling silver. They also want to buy collectible coins and paper money from before 1933. Wheeling Coin and Hobby is open daily from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., Monday through Saturday. Coin and Hobby, 304-232-8430, and add them on Facebook.
Millions plan for retirement online.
Estimate your future benefits, apply for retirement, and manage your benefits all from the comfort of your home. And give yourself the freedom to do what you want offline. Social Security's online services help put you in control with secure access to your information anytime, anywhere, allowing you to spend more time with family, friends, or simply just enjoying the day. Social Security, securing today and tomorrow. See what you can do online at socialsecurity.gov.
U.S. taxpayer expense.
Washington County's largest gun show is back on Saturday and Sunday, June 19th and 20th from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Washington County Fairgrounds. Admission is $7 and kids under 12 get in free with an adult. Everyone is welcome. They offer free appraisals and have great prices on all types of firearms, modern, military, and antique. They have over 450 tables with cash buyers on site for your used guns. Visit arhsportshop.com or you can give them a call at 724-948-3571 for more information. That's 724-948-3571 for more information. It's the Washington County Gun Show, presented by ARH Sports Shop, June 19th and 20th.
For all of your IT needs, visit OmniPerforms.com. Omni Strategic Technologies, the only IT company that the watchdog trusts.
Attorney Tom McIntyre.
Life. It may knock you down, but you don't have to stay that way. I'm Tom McIntyre. I'm a bankruptcy attorney, and I'm here to help you. Give us a call, and we'll send you a copy of my free book, When Bad Things Happen to Good People. It's an interesting read, and it'll explain bankruptcy to you like no other book does. Give us a call. We're here to help.
Call Thomas E. McIntyre and Associates at 304-232-8600. Allow us to help put you back on the road to financial success.
Smithfield, the watchdog is protecting your yard. Join Howard Monroe, Hoppy Kercheval, Bill DeFabio, and Big Rick for the best live and local talk in the Upper Ohio Valley and beyond. Smithfield trusts the watchdog.
Miss a part of the show? Want to hear a segment again? Check out our podcast page at watchdognetwork.com. The Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe continues.
He learned to walk while I was away, and he was talking for I knew it, and as he grew, he'd say, I'm gonna be like you, Dad, you know I'm gonna be like you. And the cat's in the cradle and the silver spoon, little boy blue and the man on the moon. When you're coming home, Dad, I don't know when, but we'll get together then.
One of the most powerful and poignant Father's Day songs that we have, Cats in the Cradle. Any father who listens to it's got to stop and ask themselves, are you giving enough time to your kids? It's 9 before the hour here on the Watchdog Morning Show. 65 degrees and clear skies at the Wheeling, Ohio County Airport. 66 degrees, sunny here at my home studios in the Elm Grove section of Wheeling, and 65 at the Robinson Auto Group Studios, downtown Wheeling, in the heart of the Ohio Valley. Sunday, of course, is Father's Day. And if you go by how much people are spending on Father's Day, I guess we love our dads about 15% less than we love our moms. The average person will spend $190 on dad this year. Mother's Day last month, average expenditure, $219. I don't know that I'm going to get $190 worth of anything, but a little time with all the kids is perfectly okay with me. Let's see some more Father's Day stats just for fun. 55% of Americans will celebrate Father's Day this year in one way or another. Another 7% said maybe. That's kind of low to me. I mean, everybody has a father. I acknowledge, Biff, that some people don't have relationships with their dad or fathers, but only 55% will celebrate Father's Day. I would have thought that'd be a higher number.
Yeah, I thought it would be too.
But not so. 52% will buy a gift for Dad. 40% are planning a meal or celebration. A good meal would be good for Dad. This Dad would say, okay. 19% going out for dinner. 27% will do a phone call or video chat with Dad. Phone calls for mothers, seemed completely and totally appropriate. Mom, I wanted to call. Phone calls for dads don't seem quite as poignant. Maybe I'm stereotyping here. Do I want to hear from my kids? Sure. But it just seems like, I don't know, the phone call to mom on Mother's Day seems like a bigger deal than the phone call to dad on Dad's Day. Of course, I often say, in fact, I always say when we talk about Father's Day, I say, we want to celebrate fathers and father figures. Over half of the people who were surveyed say they will do something for their own dad, but 37% will do something for their husband or their partner, 11% for their father-in-law, 7% said they do something for their grandfather. Well, for God's sake, don't forget granddad. Oh, I hope granddads get something. What's the number one thing, Biffy, that people ask their dad for financial help with?
Bills.
That's in there. That's number 3, called budgeting. Yeah. This is kind of weird because I never asked my dad for this or my mom that either. The number one thing we ask our dad for help with is buying a car. Never did. I don't think I ever asked my dad for help with buying a car. Now my kids ask me for that occasionally, when they first started buying a car. Number 2 is career advice. I don't know what you spend money on that is. Number 3, budgeting, which I think is what basically you were talking about. And number 4, buying a house. Did not have to ask my parents for help buying a house, but I can see that's something I can see kids asking their parents to help with. In fact, I helped each of my kids a little bit with buying their houses, so I get that. Now, a little over 50% think Father's Day is a real holiday. 35% think it's just a commercial holiday. What do you think, real holiday or commercial holiday, Biffy?
I'm going to go a little of both.
I think it is a little of both. I mean, obviously it's not a real holiday. It's not Thanksgiving celebrating the pilgrims and so on, or Easter, the resurrection of the Lord. I mean, there is no historical event tied to it. So to that extent, it is a commercial holiday. But I also think that it's a real holiday, and that I think people enjoy celebrating it and taking note of their dad and so on. So I'm with you. I think it's actually a little bit of both. They were talking last night on late night TV about Father's Day. Here are a couple of the thoughts they were laughing about last night on late night television.
The Tiger King, Joe Exotic, is still in prison serving a 22-year sentence for soliciting a hitman. That hasn't stopped him from spreading his business wings. Joe announced via Twitter that he is launching a line of cannabis products from jail.
Wait a minute. Wrong one. This one.
Well, guys, this Sunday is Father's Day. That's right, Father's Day is this Sunday, and Americans are expected to spend over $20 billion. That story again on Sunday, over 20 billion scratch-off tickets will be sold. The computer programmer in the Philippines gave his newborn son the name Hypertext Markup Language, or HTML, yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the baby's first word will be, why?
Singer Rihanna's lingerie line, Savage X Fenty, recently unveiled a new line of open-back, crotchless leggings. So, socks? I think she's selling socks. That's right, Rihanna's lingerie line unveiled a new line of open-back, crotchless leggings that reveal the wearer's butt. Well, over in men's fashion, they've added an 18th pocket to cargo shorts.
All right, little late night comedy. Most of that was on Father. I'm glad you caught that, Biff, because I was scratching my head going, I don't think this is Father's Day. Father's Day bit there in the beginning. So I'm glad we managed to catch that. You got cut 6 there, Biffy, the comedy bit, or not?
Yeah, I got it here.
Yeah, just a little more comedy on Father's Day before I head things over to ABC.
This is your reminder, don't forget that Father's Day is this weekend. So drop a line to your old man and let him know that you're a fan. Come on, lay it on me.
He taught you how to ride a bike, to throw a ball and tie a tie. Silly jokes will make him laugh, but don't you touch his thermostat. He's wearing socks with sandals, he's wearing cargo shorts. If he's not watching war movies, he's out on the golf course because he's dead. He's dead. Come on, you know he's dead. He's dead. You know it. You know he's dead. He's dead. Come on, you know you can call him Padre Papa or Pops to tell you once again he's dead.
He's dead. Father's Day on Sunday. Take note of Dad somehow, some way. You doing anything special, Biffy? Going out to dinner or dinner at your dad's house? I know you and your dad are very close. What are you going to do? Anything special?
Yeah, we'll probably have dinner. We'll figure something out. Go see my stepfather, and some point in the evening go over and see Grandpap and maybe have a beer with him. Who knows?
There you go. Sounds like a darn good way to celebrate Father's Day. All right, 9 o'clock in the morning here on the Watchdog Morning Show. ABC covers the world. McCabe and I are going to kick around the Friday roundtable, local news stories, and a little bit more Father's Day fun coming up as well. It is a Friday edition of the Watchdog Morning Show.
The Watchdog is FM 98.1, AM 1600 WKKX Wheeling, FM 97.7, AM 1370 WVLY Moundsville.
The ABC News is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
From ABC News.
All right, Biffy, I'm going to probably do one stand-up comedy bit before I get to McCabe. The Father's Day stand-up comedy. I think we have a couple of them. Both of the ones that are on today's list are Father's Day, right? Okay. Pick whichever one you think works. We'll just do a little stand-up comedy and maybe a month. We have a show opener, I think, that's a Father's Day show opener, right? Okay. All right, that sounds good. I'll do those things before to McCabe. And I have not heard from John. I didn't ask him yesterday, so I'm hoping he's calling in, but there's no guarantee. If not, we'll talk some more about Father's Day, I guess. All right, thanks.